Already
Yeah.
recorded.
Is it all recorded? So,
Yes.
showing it. Okay, cool. Right. All right. Apologies for that. Okay, so again, more explanation. We spoke about this operation or the ATM outlets as an extension of your banking operation. Okay, right.
Putus-putus ya.
Yeah,
parang
your
yun.
sound is cannot
And
hear.
data.
Sir, we cannot hear your sound.
Okay, what's happening? Can you know? Hang on a sec. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, yes,
Hello?
yes.
Yeah.
It's better now? Okay,
Yeah, better.
somehow it's, apologies, somehow we just disconnected. My internet is not that great from this part of the world today. Right. Okay, so we talk about information technology, how it layers up from the bottom, which is the infrastructure side of things, right? And all the way to the application itself. Okay, so this is just a diagrammatic explanation of what is information technology. Next, we have the definition itself. Okay, what is IT? Okay, and like I said, I'm going to leave you guys to read that because it's very simple. Okay, so we talk about the keywords, which is to store, to retrieve, to transmit, and to manipulate data processing. Okay, so there's 4 activities there: to store, retrieve, transmit, and to manipulate data, which is the data processing, okay, for the business. Okay, remember the exact English. Be careful with this one. Like I said, they will use some English which is very similar, but it may not be the same meaning. Okay, right. Next one. Okay, so it talks about how the information technology fits into a product. Okay, and how we would need to make a decision whether to invest or not to invest. Okay, based on the products that we produce. So like I said, in the banks, I'm sure you have different products, right? So you may have digital products that you distribute out to your customers, right? So the question is, when you look at the infrastructure, the platform, the data application, right? It constitutes that IT service to your customer. So the question is, do we continue to invest to maintain this? Is it generating revenue for the bank? Or do we continue, or do we make a decision eventually to maybe to sunset or to terminate or to stop offering that? Okay, so something to think about. Right. So again, this is just another definition of IT, explaining what are the components of IT. Okay. Operation technology. Just a quick definition. Okay. Digital organization definition. Okay. So it says here, digital technology, enable digital technology to do things differently. So using a mobile app is doing things differently. Processing things on the web is also doing things differently, right? In that sense. Okay. Digital transformation. Okay. Improvement in the realization of objective. So we have to actually transform, change the way we do things. That's a digital transformation. Again, be very careful about digital transformation. It's not just using technology only. We actually have to also change the employees' mindset. That means the team members' mindset. Also enable them with the right skill sets to operate in a digital kind of environment. Because remember, if you're using manual, right, it's just paper, pen, and you are on, right? Now that if you say, no, John, you actually have to key into this, you actually have to approve this way, you have to retrieve the record from the back end this way. So it's actually a different way of accessing and to actually do work. So please be careful to make sure we enable the team members as well. Right? This is just a definition again explaining digital transformation versus digitization. We spoke a little bit on that. Okay. Then the three different models that we discussed briefly. Model 1, Model 2, and Model 3, which is the co-creation part. Okay. So again, it comes to this slide. And then yesterday we did discuss what is BCA doing. And you guys say you are centralized, but you also have some so-called subsidiary or some business unit which is doing an integrated IT. I did mention there is no right or wrong model, but a lot of companies are also doing decentralized for, let's say, a small medium enterprise. Some are doing shared services integration. Okay, so there's no right or wrong depending on what the business needs at this point in time. Again, this is just a definition of the table, which is talk about the IT objectives. So if we want to focus on high velocity IT, these are the things that we should focus on. Okay. Then it explains how does it relate to the value chain. Okay. And this diagram explains the first two slides that we went through to say that if we're talking about a high velocity IT, the key areas that we need to measure are fast deployment, co-creation of value, resilient operation, assured conformance, which is the compliance part. And we try and drive maximum benefit out of it. Okay. Again, this is just another diagram to re-emphasize co-creation at the core. Okay, explaining, like I said, the so-called how the definition or that diagram explains itself. And this is actually explaining that the framework, what will apply in each of the phases as you plan, improve, engage, drive transition, obtain and build, deliver and support. Okay, again, we're going to definition again, explain what is lean. Okay, I did explain where did lean come from. Everybody still remember? From?
Manufacturing.
Betul, manufacturing. And what are they focused on if you are in manufacturing? What are the few things that we focus on if you use lean?
Minimize
remember?
effect.
Minimize effect, number one. Okay, what else? Anybody remember?
Improve customer satisfaction.
Yes and no. Quality will be, if you minimize effect, your quality is good, you will improve the customer. Yes. What else?
Break into small manageable process.
Yes, you look at the small manageable process using what we call Six Sigma or even using lean process to improve. Okay, minimize the wastage in terms of what we call the processing time as you do one specific process, right? Katakan, or for example, you use say 15 steps to do one process. So the question is when you use lean methodology, you need to challenge or even ask the question, is the 15 steps required? What is mandatory? What is wajib that we cannot take out? So if the 15 steps you can reduce down to 6 or even to 8, that is an improvement. So you reduce the process, number one. Number two, you reduce the processing time when you do that process. Number three, you also reduce the wait time. That means as from process 1 go to process 2, you need to reduce that as well. So lean forces you to look at not just improving the quality, which is the number one requirement of lean, but to look at how can you minimize or reduce wastage? How can you make it more efficient? That's what lean is all about. Okay, so I've just given you a summary instead of just reading all those. Make sense? So we need to remember it's for manufacturing, focus on quality. It asks us to look at the steps, if we can reduce the processing steps, reduce the processing time, reduce the waiting time from one process to the other. Make sense? Okay. Again, I encourage you guys to do Six Sigma if you had a chance to attend some of the training courses and whatnot. Hook it to me, I'll let you know what are the things that you should look out for. But Lean is actually a very powerful tool to help you to improve, especially if you want to look at your current SOP, your standard operating procedure. You say, John, this is how we do it for the last 5 years, for the last 10 years. So the question is there a way to improve? Yes, there will be if you apply Lean. There's a way to improve it if you apply Lean. Okay, so very key so-called tool to use. Right, so again, this is just an explanation of when you have a work order, there are a certain process for which explain that what I've just explained. If you apply Lean, you can actually minimize and make it better. Kanban. Everybody remember what is Kanban? Anybody can tell me how to use a Kanban board? Macam mana nak gunakan or pakai this Kanban board? Anybody?
It's a list of the activities.
Alright, come again.
It's a list of the activity that we're going to do with the team.
Very good. So that will be on the first column, right? The left-hand side. To-do list, the task list.
Yeah.
So in Agile or Scrum, they call it backlog. So what's the second column? Anybody remember?
Progress.
To do.
Work in progress. To do. They've committed. They actually pull from to do first column, the second column, which is work in progress.
In progress.
Okay. Right. What's the third column after that? On the right.
Done.
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 Kalau dah siap, dah complete, you move the yellow sticky note from the second column to the third column. Okay. Then the last column, you can actually have a last column, the fourth column. What would you like to put in there? What is typically there?
Remark.
Remarks, it could be a challenge. It could be something that you are not sure that you need help. Maybe you are actually picking up a task. Okay, I'm supposed to do a what we call login screen, for example, right? So definitely you have a user ID and a password. But you may have a task to say that, okay, how do I authenticate? How do I make sure this user is the rightful user? So you might need help. So you might put a yellow sticky note and put on the remark to say that, hey, I probably need help to talk to cybersecurity team. Macam mana do this correctly? Bagaimana nak buat benda ni? Okay, so we can actually put in the remark. So Kanban board is actually very good for individual productivity or as a team tracking tool. And typically we use this on a daily stand-up. That means every morning you have a fixed time. Doesn't matter it's 8:30 or 10 o'clock. You spend 15 minutes explaining what is happening from the task that you are taking up to do and whether you need help. Okay. Try this if you have not tried this. Even if you do projects, right? I've used this before when I do projects. I get everybody on my project team to talk about what they're doing, what they plan to do next, or what's still on the to-do list. Let's try and prioritize which one to do next, those kind of things. Okay, very powerful tool, very simple one. You have the electronic version, Azure DevOps version electronically, or you can download template, or if you like me, just get a whiteboard or a board of sort, draw the lines, column, and then use the yellow sticky tape. And that's it, the sticky note. Okay, very handy. Give it a try. Agile. Anybody remember what is Agile? Yes, no? Ooh, okay, everybody seems blank. Agile comes from the software development industry, programming, writing codes, whereby they focus on the small piece of work, which actually the group will actually commit and deliver within a fixed period of time. They call it the sprint, which is 2 to 4 weeks. And there are 3 groups of people in Agile. First, we said there has to be a product manager that owns the product, budget and everything. Second, there will be a Scrum Master. A Scrum Master is somebody who actually teaches the team on how to apply the tools, how to use the technique of Agile. Then the third one is actually the developers plus operations people, or the programmers plus operating people. We call them developers. So these three group of people will work together in an Agile format. So as they look at it, right, let's say they commit to say that, okay, John, for this sprint, the next 2 weeks, which is 10 business days, we are doing 3 items. The developers will tell the product owner, we are committed. After the 10 days, we will code the lines of the program. We will develop it. We will test it. Then we will release it into production. Okay, so Agile is a very, very powerful tool. Actually, even if you look at some of the infra projects, you can actually do it Agile as well. But you need to have somebody who is like a Scrum Master to make sure that they actually guide you on how to apply the tools correctly. Okay. Cool. Cost of delay. Anybody remember what is the cost of delay? Okay. Cost of delay is very important because if you commit a go live date and if you did not go live or move into production on that day itself, every day delay of going live or not actually able to use it, there is a cost to it. They call it the cost of delay. Okay, which is a number that you can actually measure. Okay, how you measure that is typically when you do your business case at the very beginning, before you start the project, you promise the bosses or the management or the leadership team to say that, hey, if we do spend X number of millions of rupiah on this product or this release, we were able to capture or generate this amount of revenue. Now, because you didn't go live, that revenue can be divided into per day kind of revenue loss. That will be the cost of it. Okay, cool. Resilient is supported by SRE and DevOps. Anybody remember what's SRE?
Reliability engineering.
And we spoke at length, right? You should monitor SRE, right? Because if you want to make sure the business can continue to operate, SRE is key. That's one of the pillars. The other one is to actually adopt and use DevOps. Okay, cool. Continuous in doing deployment, continuous in doing integration, continuous to do ICD. Okay, this is also an important concept. They will ask you to say that why is it important to continue to develop new features, continue to deliver, continue to do integration, because this is actually how software development works nowadays. You can't just release version 1 to the market and then bye, yep, habis. See you next year. You can't do that because your competitor will be releasing based on the sprint period, which is, like I said, 2 to 4 weeks. They will actually come up with new feature, new enhancement, changing the way the product behave in that sense. So that continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment, this concept has to be adopted in the software development lifecycle. Okay, because if you don't do it, your competitors are doing it. Right? And if you notice nowadays, right, on our phone, whether it's Android or iPhone or iOS, every now and then you click, there's an update. All right. It's not like the old days, right? You buy a software, after 3 years, they say, oh, John, okay, we now come up with version 2.0. Now it's every day is like 1.011 or 1.02, 1.11, 1.3. They keep releasing. Okay, so this concept is important for you to remember. Right. What is a service dominant logic? Okay, so it says that it's the economic exchange co-created with organization and the competency for the benefit of each other. That means you partner and co-create. Okay, so this is actually key. So you actually work with other service provider or other people or in your ecosystem to look at how you could actually deliver high value or high velocity products and services to your stakeholders. Okay. Operating model, talk about what is the high velocity operating model. Okay, digitally enable organization. So we talk about value stream. Each of it has to be relooked at. How you have a co-creation culture. How do you have a product and services team that are actually dedicated to focus on serving your stakeholder, and you have an automation of processes. So those are the key characteristics of a digital enabled organization. Then it comes back to tie down to the service value system again and talk about digital product, digital services, definition of that. Okay, so if you have a digital product, you will have a digital service. So what is that? Okay, so it's to give you the example, online banking, ride sharing, which is your Uber or your Grab, right? The e-commerce, which is like Lazada and Shopee, those kind of platform, e-ticketing or video storage, e-learning and all that stuff, right? Okay. Service interaction. There are 3 of them. Service action, access to resource, and transfer of goods. Again, definition, put it into a diagram where the service provider, which is all of us, we are the resource, we become the service provider to our stakeholder, which is the consumer. Okay. Co-creation. And these are the 7 steps of interacting with the customer journey. Explore, engage, offer, agree, onboard, co-create, realize. Okay. Please remember this. This is an important slide. This will come out in the exam. Okay. Now, in the next few slides, they talk about what needs to be done or how do they interact between customer and the service provider itself. Okay. Same with this, it's just explaining it from a different perspective. Again, there's a table definition. This is the one that explained the last few slides to say that in terms of the value, that the outcome that we produced for the customer or the stakeholder, it will be surrounded by a product offering, a resources which is us, we actually enable that. That's all there is to it. Okay. Then we talk about DevOps. How does it tie with the value chain? This is how they tie together the processes in ITIL. Okay. Then we have this DRSV, the demand, the requirement, the service, and the value from a consumer perspective. This is the one that you need to focus on. Or should I say the next one, which explains how it flows. Okay, from the demand opportunity to the outcome. So that's how they flow into the service value chain. That is combining it. Don't worry too much on the diagram, just understand the flow. Okay, like I said, ITIL has got a lot of definition. They like to explain this in theory. You need to understand why they actually come up with this framework in this manner. Okay. Again, value stream. This is just another diagram explaining how the value stream in terms of the resources and the which is on top, how we actually combine that and actually work on it to provide a value. Okay, so if you read this slide, right, the way to read it is to read it from the bottom up, or I will read it from the bottom up to say that I'm a resource. I come from the organization and people. information technologies, and then with my partners and suppliers, I will come up with a product of sort. And the method that I use are the value streams and processes, the value chain activities, and the guiding principles. Then we come up with the final value itself on the right-hand side. Okay, so it's just a different diagram. Okay, talking about the value stream and how that fits. Okay, so you have management, you have resources, and you have operation guiding the two in the middle. Definition slide, which explain the table, the 34 practices. And they talk about if you map it to a value stream, you should identify which practice it ties back into of the 34 of them. This is a table. I will use this as a reference table. Not necessarily have to memorize it, but if you are trying to map this from an IT perspective, you can use this table to actually draw it out. Okay. Then again, we come back to this. So focus on organization, people, information technology, partners, and suppliers. Anybody remember we talk about what's the difference between a partner and supplier? Berbeza dia. You remember? A supplier will do what?
Supplier will provide a product for us. Partner, we grow together with them.
Absolutely, and align with you. Your
Yeah.
partner will align with you. So if BCA say, hey, I want to do this, your partner will say, hey, I want to do this as well, together with you. Okay. So there's a difference between the two. Value stream and processes. Okay. Pastel. What is pastel? Quiz time. Anybody remember what is pastel? What does P stand for?
Political.
Political, economic.
Social, technological.
Technological. Legal, environmental.
Yeah. Pastel, huh? Please write it down. Huh? This is again a definition question. Huh? Ding. If I did not remind you, I will remind you again. Exam question. Pastel. Anybody remember definition of VUCA? This one should be senang. Easy je.
Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity.
Is the general definition. Yesterday, I did offer a different one. You guys still remember?
Vision, what else? Agility, the
Understanding,
understanding, yeah, that's understanding. C, what
Understanding.
C?
Clarity.
Clarity.
Betul, Ibu. And the last one, A.
Agility or what is
Agility is one.
yeah.
And adaptability.
Adaptability. Yeah.
So again, like I said, the one that you guys have mentioned firstly is the one in the exam. The one I've given you is actually a different perspective of VUCA. So that is actually from a leadership perspective. So like I said, check out the website that I've given you. That will hopefully give you a different view how people see VUCA differently. Okay. Right. Governance and management. Now, what's the key word here? What
Direct
does
and
governance
control.
mean?
Direct and control.
Always remember that. Huh? Governance means direct and control so that we do accordingly. Okay, especially when central bank issue a directive to say that, hey, we need to process or protect the so-called the customer information. That is central bank trying to direct and control how we work in the banking industry. Okay, so that's the governance part. Okay. Management, I think you guys know, right? What is management, right? I have to explain, right? Cool. All right. Summary. Okay. So basically, we're saying that if we want to have a high velocity IT, we need to actually learn or apply or adopt in our organization things like agile, things like lean, things like resilient. These are the basic stuff that we need to do. Why? Because we need to do things faster and also with a clear direction of how do we serve our customer better. Okay? So the fact that you are doing this because you actually want to learn this, so you can actually help BCA to become better. That's the whole gist of high velocity. How to make BCA better. Right? And then we discuss. Okay. Any questions so far? No? We just finished revising last night or yesterday's one. Now, the high velocity culture, yesterday we stopped at slide number 121. So I'm just going to go through first before we continue with that. Okay, so it talks about this: accept ambiguity, uncertainty, trust and be trusted, continue to raise the bar, help customer get things done, commit to continue learning. I think I've shared examples of this. You can still remember how to do this. Okay, just going to skip that. Okay. There is a table. I would suggest to please spend a few moments to read it if you have not, because this table explains key behaviors that we spoke about in the previous slides and how does it align into the purpose, the people, and the progress. Okay, and the next slide here is actually relating that to the guiding principle. So these two tables here that we're seeing, this one, plain the slide before, which is this. Okay, so if you read it right, you actually have to go back to the previous slide and say, okay, what that previous slide means and why does it fall under this category, which is the purpose, the people, and the progress. And then they ask you again on the next table to say that how does it actually relate to the 7 guiding principles. Okay, now question may come in the exam when they say, okay, which of the guiding principles actually talks about committing to continual learning? If you look at the table, it says progress iteratively with feedback. That's how you would read that. That's how you will actually try and understand. Or even they say, how do we help to get customer job done? Focus on that.
Focus on value.
Boleh faham baca ini kata ni, this table. Okay, that's how I would read it. Okay, so even if they say how to be trust, how to have trust and trusted, they actually collaborate and promote visibility. Okay, so if you read the 7 guiding principles and this table is actually in a way the same thing. They are just giving you a different definition per se. Okay, important that you spend time to actually read this table because so that you can understand to say that, oh, that's what it means. Because in the exam, they will come up with like I just did, how do you help to get customer jobs done? Which ITIL guiding principle would apply. And if you think through, okay, I'm trying to help the customer work done. There are 7 guiding principles. The one that is related to that is actually focus on value. Boleh faham? Okay, so these 2 tables, like I said, do spend time. The tables are there. Some of them, like I mentioned, is for reference, but some of this table I'm highlighting to say that you actually need to spend time to actually read them to understand them. Okay, it's very straightforward. Like I said, hopefully I don't have to give any example because it's self-explanatory, but you need to spend time to read it. Okay, cool. Right, then it goes back to explain what is the purpose, what is the people and progress. So again, there is a definition. There is a definition itself. Why is it important? Explain. I think I mentioned that you guys should have a code of business ethics in the organization. If not, HR perhaps should have one. In some of the larger organizations that I work with, they have a document which explains how, as an employee, we need to behave with ethics. Okay, why ethics is important. Okay, Education part, we spoke about this, how we should encourage everybody to be reminded that ethics is actually key on the quality of work that we deliver, because we are being entrusted to process sensitive information. Okay, organization design talks a little bit more on how we can actually collaborate and work together better. Habits and the role of failure, depending on the culture. Like I said, some culture in some companies, they celebrate failure. But again, don't just celebrate failure for celebrating. They say, hey, we have failed. We've documented it. We acknowledge it. Then what's next? We talk about how can we improve? How can we do better? Then they actually implement those. Okay, so the failure part is not just to say that, okay, I failed. Okay, next, move on. No, they actually have to talk about it. They document it. Like I said, they actually look at how do I improve it, and they implement it. And then that cycle continues again. Okay. Ethics and artificial intelligence, we did spoke about how do we use artificial to pre-select some of the customer who qualify or don't qualify. Again, please look at how that is being written, because this is also a gray area at this point in time. Okay. Of course, emotional intelligence, I think that one quite easy, right? Straightforward. Huh? Okay. Key messages. How to establish the ethical. And going back to this again, which is explaining the heat map, or should I say one of the things that we should be helping or focus on ethics. Design thinking. What do we know about design thinking? What did I say about design thinking? Design thinking is focusing on what? Or what is it used for?
Explore potential improvement.
Explore potential improvement, focusing on customer journey. Okay, it's a brainstorming tool. If you want to use that word as well, you can. It's an innovation framework tool. Okay, it's an innovation framework tool on how to improve customer service, how to do things better. That's what design thinking is all about. Right? So those are the three things when you do design thinking you need to do. You have to empathize with stakeholder. You need to speculate and experiment. You need to dare to decide and actually implement. Okay, that's a very, very high level summary. Actually, design thinking is a lot more than that. Okay, cool. Then go back to the heat map to say design thinking is to apply all of this. Go to the people part, service agility, safety culture. Safety culture is not to say that jangan jatuh, jangan accident, not just that. Safety culture means that you are free to share your opinions and view with your team. Okay, you can actually point out to say, hey John, I think there is a mistake. Hey John, I think we need to improve on this. Hey John, I think we're not doing good enough. Those kind of safety culture. Okay, so again, depending on the organization, some are very traditional. It's very top down. They don't allow people to express. But what high velocity IT says that you need to actually encourage people to voice their concern. It's the safety culture that is meaning here. So it's not like jangan accident, jangan jatuh, jangan langgar. No, it's not that. Safety culture is safe to express your view. Okay. Stress prevention. How do you guys reduce stress? You guys say BC is a very good place to work, fun, no stress, so no need stress prevention. True? Not true? Maybe.
In the middle.
No stress. Huh? Yes, Ibu? Correct, huh? No stress, huh?
Correct and not correct.
Oh, correct and not correct. Alfan, what do you think?
Stress, of course.
Why? Why is it stress?
Yeah.
Because of my end?
This is our refreshing, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, come again?
Doing a training. Yeah, this is our refreshing.
Oh. So is it stress now that you are in training?
No.
This is
It's
actually
actually-
the stress prevention that we have to take. So,
We are very happy
Oh,
to have
okay,
training.
okay, I understand now. So to do training is stress prevention, right?
Yes.
see, everyone agree, right?
Agree.
Don't tell the boss. Don't
Yes
tell the
and
boss.
no.
Yes and no.
Actually, we are postponing our work with
Okay.
this. So the lot of our job will be postponed after this training. And the stress
Think
come
you need to
again.
look. I hear you. I hear you, Pak. But the way I look at it is very different. Yes, it's postponing. I think you also have to trust the team. You actually have to trust the team to get the work done.
Yeah.
Remember when I mentioned yesterday, I trust the team,
Yeah.
but I
right.
also validate.
Validate. Correct.
Trust is good, validate. Okay. So don't think of it as a postponing. Put it this way, work is not going to be finished. Work is not going to be finished. As long as we continue to serve the organization, work is not going to finish. Because why? Business continue, right? So look at it very
Right.
positively. We still have a job. Okay. Right. Okay. Service agility. Approaching the knowledge work and service reflects the complex social nature. This is actually talking about the different teams, the different organization structure, also different needs. Personal value. What did I talk about personal value? Why are you working for BCA? You need to figure that one out. Or ask your team member, why are you still here?
It's
Okay.
important.
It's important because we need to find our passion. We need to find our reason of doing this job that we're doing today. Because if nobody has a clarity, an organization would not be a high velocity IT because it requires us to have clarity of purpose. Okay, so the personal value to me is actually very key. What do you provide? What do you bring to the table? What are you doing to help BCA? Okay? Only you can answer that, but you need to have some clarity. Okay, cool. Then we spoke about the messages about loosening control. Not say let them go but you actually need let them to actually empower them. I would like to use the word empowerment instead of loosen control. Then they say use temporary process to provide support in case there isn't any. Respect team members' value in that sense. Okay. I think in Asia, a lot of us are from different cultures or different religion or different upbringing or education, right? So we kind of a little bit more tolerant in terms of respecting each other. Okay. Again, when you talk about a heat map here, so if you notice the one that is a little bit darker in color, that's actually more important when you talk about that. Okay, that's how you read this diagram. Okay, safety culture. We said that safety is not about falling down or not have an accident. Okay, not bump into somebody at the corridor. Let's talk about explaining or sharing your point of views. Okay. Right. Then the next one, the heat map, which explain that. Stress prevention. Any idea how do we do this? I know we spoke about it earlier. You guys said come for training is one. Apa lagi? What else can we do? Do you guys have a games room in the office? No? Very serious?
No, I think.
Okay. Do you have a sports club?
We have some ping pong area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Ping pong is good.
And
That's it. So if I don't like ping pong, do I go knitting class? Ostrich? What else can I do?
Sometimes we after the office hours, sometimes they go to the like what billiard pool, billiard, in
Billiard, pool.
yeah, play billiard,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
going
Okay, you
for
go billiard.
trekking.
Interesting.
Trekking, yeah, trekking together.
Okay. I strongly recommend to have an employee sports club. If there isn't one, maybe suggest to your human capital team or the HR team to set up one. One of the organizations I used to work for, what they do is like this. So as an employee, as staff, they contribute, I think, is 2 ringgit Malaysia per month out of the salary. So HR would collect into a fund. For manager, I am a manager, right? So I need to pay a little bit more. It's 5 ringgit per month. Okay, because scale, so my staff pay 2 ringgit, I pay 5 ringgit per month. Then the company HR will get the bosses, the management to agree. They also pay the equivalent amount. So what that means is if I put in 5 ringgit per month, company put in 5 ringgit. So with that money, they can create things like a sports club. Let's say we can play futsal, like I said, billiard. They will have competitions, and all sorts of things of that sort. So every month or every week there will be activities of that sort. So it's quite fun to so called do that. Just suggestion. Okay. Hope your HR don't kill me. Say, what? You want more money?
It's been
Okay.
recording,
Nice,
right?
alright.
Sorry?
It's been
Sorry.
recording, right?
Yes, it's still recording, so they'll probably hear this.
Visya
Understand
has
the intention, right?
many, yeah. Visya is a sport club maybe, yeah, like badminton, running, many. So we can join 1 or 2 maybe.
Okay.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, but like I said, get the management involved, not just I think among organize yourself. Get some support from management if they are agreeable and supportive. Okay, by having them around will be good as well. Hopefully, they will sponsor some if they can afford it. Just kidding. Right, but seriously, stress prevention is key. Please make sure you take care or jaga your anak buah or your staff's mental health situation. Okay, especially I know in banking side you guys work long hours, so I'm not sure whether you guys have a rule. I have a rule. After 6:30 in the office, I will start chasing people out from the cubicle. I will go to their cubicle. I will switch off the laptop. I will switch off the monitor. And I said, you need to pack and go now. If not, I'm packing for you.
You are a very good manager, sir.
Yes,
Good.
you
No,
are a good
I'm not. I'm
manager,
very
sir.
bad. I'm a very bad manager. You know why? Because I want them, especially my Muslim colleague, right? I said, you need to prepare for Maghrib prayer. So I'm asking you to shut down now, pack, go for prayer. And those who are not Muslim, I said, you need to go home to see your family now. Because it's 6:30. Because officially we finish work about 5:30, right? So 6:30 is already 1 extra hour working, right? Overtime, right? Not being paid, right?
Yeah.
So I said, it's fair. I said, if you are not going home, you are coming with me, we go Starbucks. I'm paying.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay. But if you go to Starbucks, then most of them will say, no, boss, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I want to go home. Why? Because if we go Starbucks, then we will talk about his family, his work, mental health.
Yeah.
They say, okay, boss, I'm going home now. Bye. Okay, so this is my way of taking care of the people. After 6:30, I chase people out. I know people work hard, don't get me wrong. But I think it's important you have a balance. And so do that in your little way to take care of the team. Normally people who needs to stay back, I will ask what is the reason why are we staying back? Oh, John, we're doing a release tonight. Okay, what time? 9 o'clock. Okay, so how are we going to prepare for dinner? What do you mean? So how are we going to prepare for dinner? You will have a release at 9 o'clock, right? You need to release in production, right? Okay, so what are we doing tonight? Oh, not sure. I said, let's go for dinner first. It's 6:30, right? 7 o'clock, right? Let's go for dinner. We come back and then we prepare. We have a discussion. How do we kickstart the process for the go live production at 9 o'clock? So you can actually take those opportunities to take care of the team. Not to say I will pay, but we will like split the bill. We'll go to a simple restaurant. We'll have a quick meal and then we'll enjoy. And then we say, okay, focus 9 o'clock. We get the production done and then we go home. Maybe 11, 11:30. Okay. Take care of the people. Ask how they're doing. Okay. Do you guys have work from home days? Or must come to office?
Yes, one day at home.
Have that allowance in some of my teams that I manage. Sometimes those who have young families, kids, sometimes they want to take half a day off. I say, okay, why don't you take half a day off and work from home? Because sometimes you need to take the children to doctor, the clinic, or they may have some parents who are a little bit senior, very old, go to the hospital. So I say, okay, take the time off to take care of your parents as well. Okay, so please do that for the mental health. This is very key. Right, stress during change, during business. I think we know that, right? Let's talk about that. Right, so approaches, lean and agile. The ICD technique, HR department or human capital department, assistant performance management. A little bit on. Okay, so the key here, if you read the caption in blue, it says non-judgment. So non-judgmental, that means don't judge the staff, why they behave or why they have certain needs. Okay, because there is one thing that I learned in one of the organizations that I used to work for. One of my VP, he used to come down and see me. He said, John, you need to remember one thing. It's a sales-driven organization because we're very focused on numbers. He said, John, yes, I've given you the numbers for this week, this month, this quarter. It's very high. But you need to actually make sure you take care of the people. I said, what do you mean, boss? He said, well, if you take care of the people, people will take care of the numbers. Okay, so I actually took that to heart. So in some of the operation work, I tell people, I said, look, we have a lot of things to do. Let's take care of each other. The work will be taken care of. So I normally ask this question to my team when I validate or check on them. I said, what can I do to make sure you are successful today? Do you have any challenges? Do you have any impediment? Do you need me to connect you with another team to help you out? What can I do today to make sure you are successful today? What tasks are you working on? Are you okay to complete it a little bit ahead of time? How can we do that? Okay, so don't be judgmental. Ask those questions to the team and actually facilitate that as much as you can. Of course, it is their job that you've assigned them. They need to finish it, but you are just checking to make sure they have everything on their head to get it. That's key. Okay, cool. Continue vigilance. That means you actually have to make sure you monitor your team. Okay, check in on them regularly. Okay, like I said, 6:30, you see me walking around, switching off computers, monitor, helping people to pack their bags, get them to go home. I said, I'll see you tomorrow 8 o'clock or 8:30. We can go for breakfast if you want. If not, we start work at 8:30. I'll see you then. Okay? Key messages. So when we actually take care of people's health, these are the key messages that we need to look. Now, there will be time that they may require certain professional counseling. You might reach out to your human resource or human capital team members to say that, hey, I have a team member that is actually required a special need. How can we help to assist him or her? Okay. I'm not sure whether BCA has that or not, but if you do, that will be very, very helpful because your people are your greatest asset. Okay. Again, the heat map, which actually just show, like I said, the key things to look at or to apply here. Okay, accept ambiguity, trust and be trusted, and committed to continual learning. Those are the key characteristics of behavior that we need to display when you take care of people. Right, progress. Let's look at progress quickly. So how do we measure progress, or what is actually progress mean in ITIL, high velocity? So it says that because of the complex environment that we're in, we need to apply a lean culture and we need to use the continual improvement model. So what does all that mean? Let's look at the next slide. So they say that when you work in a complex environment, we need to apply things like the system thinking or the complexity thinking or the complex adaptive system. I want to pause here, look at the slide. Give me an example, please. What is system thinking? What is complexity thinking? And what is complex adaptive system? Any example that you guys can think of? Let's have a quick discussion on this. System thinking should be quite easy. It says here, analyze, a holistic approach to analyze decision-making process. Okay, so I think those of us who went to college will probably be taught to look at things holistically and before we make a decision. That is simply holistic, or should I say system thinking. Now, what's the difference? A complexity thinking. Complexity thinking is slightly different from holistic. The difference here is to note that the system that we're looking at, problem that we're looking at, could be affected or interrelated or integrated with other systems as well. So you need to be aware that if you are just doing a hire purchase loan application, right, they could actually be referred to the central bank's guidance on how to what can be approved, or there could be a certain guidance internally that what you can or cannot approve, or there could be a bad debt listing that you need to refer to. So there are multiple systems that could make it very complex. Okay, so it's slightly different from system thinking. So system just look at one. Now you're actually expanding that scope. Then you look at the last one, which is the complex adaptive system. Okay, because complex adaptive system actually looks at the behavior of things. Okay, because sometimes the behavior, how people behave or how the system flow may not be well defined. Okay, especially when you do functional testing. I think those programmers will know what I'm saying. When you do functional testing, right? Yes, this feature works, but if you have a different input to the system, how does that affect it? Okay, don't worry too much about definition. Just understand there are three: system thinking, complexity thinking, and complex adaptive system thinking that you need to be aware of. Right? Ask me a question later if you still don't understand. Okay. Right. This is a ITIL way of looking at how complex things are, or how do we define or explain complexity in terms of the work that we do. Okay. So if you look at this diagram, it's a very interesting diagram. So you have on the top left-hand side is complex and the bottom is chaotic. And there's another one on the right-hand side is complicated, and that is obvious. Okay, so basically, if you look at a current system, it could fall into one or multiple category. So let's look at the definition of what is a Sinefin framework in sense. This diagram is quite complex, huh? So let's go to the definition first, huh? And we come back to this. It says here, identify multiple hypnosis for what might happen. In parallel, you need to test hypnosis using a small or safe to fail experiment, observe the impact of experiment, where possible outcome, observe, attempt to apply them with negative outcome, attempt to dampen the effect. So basically, this system talks about how do we actually trying to understand what system it is. So let's go back to the diagram. Yeah? So some systems are very complex, which is in that category. Some are really chaotic. There's no way to understand it. Some are just complicated because it involves a lot of subsystems. Some, when you look at it, hey John, this is quite obvious. Okay? So this is just a way of trying to categorize it. Okay. Now, once you've actually tried to categorize it, there is a way to look at it to say that what is it that we can manage or what is it that we cannot manage. So the obvious one, of course, definitely we can manage. The complicated we can manage. The complex we can manage, but the chaotic seems to be no pattern at all. Okay. So this framework is just trying to categorize that into the 4 categories. Now, this explains how we use the framework. Okay, so it says here, if it's obvious, apply prescriptive process and tell plan. If it's a complicated, use case management, time boxing, complex, or apply constructs as Scrum. Okay, if it's a complex domain, apply pre-Scrum technique, If it's chaotic, take control and act quickly to stabilize situation, put into a complex environment. So basically, let's go back. When we are having a situation on hand, what this framework does is actually, we'll probably start from a very chaotic. When you look at it, it's like, okay, I don't know what's going on. I have a high incident of tickets, or there's a lot of customer complaints coming in. Everybody, system is down, whatnot. I need to actually do what? I need to take it under control. Once you have it taken under control, then you say, okay, what is going on? Is this a complex, a complicated, or an obvious solution that I can actually see to address the issue? Okay, which actually explained in this slide here. Okay. Then this is actually the other things that you need to watch out for. Okay. I won't be worried too much about this framework because, like I said, it's just a problem classification or risk management kind of a framework that they come up with. Okay, so this is pretty new if you probably have not seen it. But like I said, it's just telling you to say that this is how they classify it using this framework. When we face with a situation, what do they suggest we do? So the suggestion how to do it is actually this part here. Okay, plus the next slide. Question. The heat map. Ambiguity, uncertainty, that's what it is all about. Question about the framework. It's just a classification of the situation. Okay. Culture. Definition. trust, respect, curiosity, inquiry, playfulness, and intensity. All support learning and discovery. So you are actually suggesting people to adopt a lean culture. So let's look at a little bit more definition. What is trust? What is respect? What is curiosity? What is inquiry? What is playfulness? What is intensity? This table here explains the definition. Okay. Now, question will be, why do we need lean? Let's go back. I'll ask the question again. This is actually the lean definition. Sorry. Why do we need lean culture? Anybody? You see, when you need lean culture is because the company recognizes or audience recognizes that you are doing the same thing again and again. So the question is, how can you promote the learning and discovery to diversify? Okay, how can you diversify? Now, before the company make a decision to diversify, we as a resource or an employee needs to actually embody this kind of key behavior. That means you have to have trust among each other. You have to respect each other. You must be curiosity about new things. You need to ask, why are we doing this? Of course, there's a hint of playfulness and the intensity, or should I say the passion, to say that we are going to learn new ways to slowly change the way we do things. So that's the lean culture that a lot of organizations like to encourage to a certain extent. You've probably seen bits and pieces of it as your organization starts to transform. Maybe you say, hey, John, we're actually moving from the manual form to the digital form. So we are adopting a lean culture to a certain extent. A lot of this is like HR stuff. So if you are in human capital or HR human resource, right, you probably love this. If you are not, you probably say, John, this is super dry. Yeah, it is. Okay, that's why I asked the question, why do we need to do a lean culture? Okay, so you actually have to figure out to say that how does this apply to me? If I encourage a lean culture, these are the things that I need to actually encourage. So do you have trust among your team? Do you have respect? Are your team curious about new technology? Do they ask questions to say that why are we doing this? How are we doing this all the time the same way every day? Do they have a hint of playfulness? Do they have the intensity to do learning and discovery? Okay, basically it's actually continuous learning part. Okay, definition, and then it says what needs to be in place. Okay, you must have that safety culture we talk about. You must actually catch people doing the right thing at the right moment. Which is the present moment awareness. Okay, now for us as leaders, as manager, we need to ask or do all of this. Okay, so it can be a one-on-one session. Oh, by the way, and you guys, how many one-on-one you guys do regularly? How often? Just a curiosity.
Twice in a year, coaching
Mhm.
session, right?
You only talk to your staff once every 6 months. My goodness, so they live in a cave or somewhere, Ibu? Cannot.
Oh, this one-on-one session, right? Yeah.
I recommend once every month, not once every 6 months, because things change too fast. What about your team? How often do you have a team departmental meeting or a business unit meeting?
Each team every week, weekly meeting. the small team, right?
If you have a small team, actually, you can have a daily stand-up. 15 minutes, that's all it takes. Don't have to be physical, can be virtual. Make sure everybody dial in. And like I said, just use the Kanban board. That will also help you. But one-on-one, seriously, my recommendation is try to do it once a month and make sure you document it. Okay. So when you document the one-on-one, there's a couple of techniques that you can do. You can do what we call the GROW model, GROW, the GROW model, or you can do a simple thing like, what do you need to start? What do you need to stop? What do you need to continue? Right. So you talk about the behavior of the team member, right? Or what you want them to continue to do. Okay. Do that monthly, please.
Back
Don't
then
talk to the people every
we
6 months.
back then we did it every day, daily, 15 minutes, but the time consumed more than 15 because
That means
too
that,
much
okay,
things to discuss. The problem get bigger, bigger, and bigger. That's why we change it into weekly.
understand. But even with weekly, right, you can make it more fun. Like I said, you can make it a lunch meeting. Potentially.
Yeah.
No,
Not everybody like lunch meeting.
I love lunch meeting because my staff say they love it as well. You know why? Because John is paying for it. He just order McDonald's or
You
Pizza
got me
Hut
the
for it.
idea.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what I did was actually I paid for it a few times, and then after that, the staff decided to say, that, okay, John, let me organize the next one. Let me organize the next one. So we actually rotate among the team. Yeah.
I don't think it will gonna happen in my team.
You might want to try. Yeah. So, but the
Yeah,
thing
we'll
is, the
try, we'll
one-on-one.
try.
Yeah, but one-on-one, I suggest seriously, you must do it once a month, not every
Yeah.
6 months. It's a little bit too long because situation do change. Okay. My recommendation, and make sure you pre-book it into your meeting invite in your calendar. So let's say you start the first one on next Monday, right? Or next Tuesday, you book one with one of your team members. As you finish off that session, before you leave the meeting, ask for a date. When can we talk again next month?
Okay.
In the calendar. Okay. So if you do this every month, and of course you have your weekly or your daily stand-up, right?
Yeah.
You would have a very good idea what's happening on the team, what's happening individually. Are they getting married? Or they have changed a new boyfriend? You know, they just moved into a new house, or they're expecting a new baby, or you know, they're moving house again, you know, or they have an argument with their parent. You would know all that seriously if they trust you enough. Okay, and then you can also talk about your career progression. Okay, what's next? How can you enhance or uplift your team members? Right, do that. It's very important as a manager. I cannot stress enough. Right, key messages. Again, I'm just going to leave you guys to read that. So basically, you need to actually have those items in place. So basically, you just have to actually be genuine, be yourself, talk to your team member. That's, to me, is very, very key. Okay. For me, right, actually 40% of my time is talking to my team members, helping them out. So I'm actually have to do my job after 6:30 kind of thing. All right. So I only need to make sure that they can get the job done so I can actually focus on my other things. Right. Again, just the heat map of when you apply lean culture. Okay, ITIL improvement. Shall we take a break first before we go into this? Because this is going to be quite heavy as well. You all
Sure.
need more coffee and
Okay, John.
caffeine and thingy. How much
I
time you
agree
need?
with you.
15 minutes or 10 minutes?
15 as
15 minutes.
usual, maybe.
15 as usual. I'm happy to let you go 15. Now is 11:30 my time, which is 10:30 your time. Come back at 10:45 your time. Is that okay?
Okay.
Have a
Okay.
quick break. All
Okay,
right.
thank you,
Thank
John.
you so much.
Thank
See
you.
you in 15 minutes time. Go grab your coffee, and Milo, or teh tarik, or Chinese tea, or if you just want a water, that's good as well. Stay healthy.
Okay, thank you, John.
No worries. Okay, is everybody back? You've got your tea, your water, your coffee with you. We are almost done for the module. So another probably 20 over slides before we conclude the IT culture module itself. Then we will break for a lunch. Okay. Everybody back already?
Yes.
Ready,
Yes,
John?
no, wave. Okay, cool. So let's continue. ITIL continued improvement model. So it says start from what is the vision, where are we now, where do we want to be, how do we get there, take action, did we get there, and look back to how do we keep the momentum going. Quick question, how do you guys do continued improvement? Have a process or a team that take care of that? Yes, no, not sure? Or have you done any continued improvement? If you need to do continued improvement, you can actually copy this slide and ask those questions with what we call a problem statement that you want to improve and work through that framework or that model itself. So a good example would be like, how do I improve customer satisfaction by another 5%, for example? How do I reduce the error rate on our customer data by X number of percent? How do I improve our time to market by X number of time, say days or weeks or months or whatever, how you want to measure it? How do I improve the quality or the way we serve our customer? Okay. Now, if you haven't done one, I strongly encourage everybody to actually try to do one, because once you actually run through this improvement model by asking those questions, you will be able to see that it is actually quite an easy model to implement. Okay. But it does require a little bit of time and commitment on you and the team to work through this problem. Okay. Right. Improvement domains. So when we talk about improvement domains, okay, you talk about the continual improvement approach or the model that we spoke about just now, which is in the previous slide, which is this one here. Okay, so at the bottom there is actually the continual improvement approach, right? It actually can provide an outcome, which is the management practice that can actually improve that. So say we use the example of trying to improve the customer satisfaction by 5%. Say currently we are at 80%. We want to drive it up to 85% in the next 6 months, the next school quarter. So as you go through the model of the improvement itself, you might come to realize to say, hang on, John, actually we need to change some of the ways that we do the management practices. Now, as you change that, it also improves the product and services itself. So what this diagram explains is that if you go through the previous model, which is this one, the findings, the insight, the outcome it is, will improve not just the management practice, it will also improve your product and services to your stakeholder. Okay, that's why I strongly encourage you to actually try to do one. Okay, now it can be as simple as, hey, John, I just want to improve the number of reports that we produce. Okay, so what does that mean? I'm actually producing 50 reports for our department at the moment. Okay, then the question is, why do you need 50? Can you make do with 20 or 10? right? So there must be a reason why we produce 50 in the first place, and we continue to do that. But if we reduce down to 10 or 15 or 20, what are the reports that could perhaps be combined or make it a little bit better? Okay, so do apply this model, which is the continuous improvement model, and see whether you can actually change the way you do things. Okay, so that's what this diagram is all about. Okay, again, look at the data that you have, look at the as is, and then come out with the to be, what the future will look like. Okay, right. There is an interesting concept here called Toyota Kata. In Toyota Kata is actually a mental model or behavior pattern for practice and coaching. Again, is a Japanese Toyota Kata, I should say, a quality way of doing things. So in there, they ask the question, which is similar to the improvement, the continuous improvement model. So if you look at the question, they say, what are we trying to achieve? Where are we now? What obstacles are in our way? What's the next step? And what can we learn by doing this? Okay, so the keyword here is practice and coaching. So let's look at the next diagram, which explain how do we apply them. Okay, so we start off with first get the direction or the challenge, understand where we want to get to, okay, or define where we want to get to. Like I said, have a problem statement defined to say that, oh, I'm going to increase customer satisfaction from 80% to 85%. Is a 5% increase in a time period of, say, 6 months. So that is the step number one. Number two, look at the current situation, which is the as is situation. Okay, what do we know? Why are we achieving 80%? So do an assessment of that. Then step number three, to look at, okay, if we're going to reach from 80 to 85%, which is step three, then look at step four, what are the obstacles, what is stopping us from achieving the 85% that we spoke about. That's all there is to it. Very simplified Toyota Kata. Okay, so if you go back to the previous slide, let me just quickly jump back to that. This one here is just give you a few extra steps in terms of the question to ask, similar to Toyota Kata. Step one, figure out where you want to head. Step two, assess the current situation. Step three, assess the to be. Then look at how you overcome the obstacle. And of course, they're saying that you use the keyword here, experiment. Okay. Any question on Toyota Kata? Okay. You can use Toyota Kata or you can use the continuous improvement. I would perhaps prefer the continuous improvement if you have not done it, because that is actually, like I said, the questions are there. It's very obvious, very simple. Try to do one. Seriously, you will actually have a bit of learning if you actually do that. Okay, right. Next one. OODA. Apa dia tu? OODA. Observe, orient, decide, and act. Okay, this is ITIL. So it's similar to the Plan, Do, Check, Act. Anybody heard of the Plan, Do, Check, Act?
Yeah, PDCA.
You've heard it before, right? Okay, let's look at OODA. So OODA, basically what we're saying is it helps you to do this, which is establishing the business vision, mission and objective, do a baseline assessment, define a measurable target, define improvement plan, recognize complexity, execute it, put it into a KPI. So observe what we are experiencing now. orientate yourself to say that how can we do better, then decide what is the approach you want to take and act on it. So it's similar to the plan, do, check, act. Okay? It's just a different way of executing the process improvement. Right? And from the heat map perspective, these are the things that you need to do, which is raising the bar, helping the customer get things done, and continue learning when you talk about continual improvement. Okay, so there's only 3 things. So you have the continuous improvement, the Toyota Kata, and the OODA. Okay. Again, going back to the guiding principle, just a reminder, just a flashing it up so that we know these are the 7 principles that we may continue to talk about. Right. Let's look at one of them. Focus on value. This is just a revision. I'm sure you guys know what is focus on value. Okay. Start where you are. Okay. Anybody know why do we need to start where we are? Why it's important to start where we are? Any idea why this is important as a guiding principle?
We have to know the current condition or if we want to improve from the current condition.
Focus on the key problem area. Don't tackle the big, the whole organization, the whole thing. Focus on where it matters. Don't boil the ocean, in other words. Okay, focus on the key thing. That's why they say start where you are is key. Okay, don't go and do everything one go. Focus on one specific area at one time. Okay, progress iterative with feedback. Why do we need feedback? When we progress iterative with feedback, why do we need to do feedback? It's because
to improve.
We need to validate what we have done is correct. So if we do these steps for improvement, first iteration, we check, is this fixing the problem? Is this helping to resolve the issue? Is this improving the current state? That's why progress iterative with feedback is key. Don't just do, but you never check. You could have gone off topic or off tangent in that sense. So you always need to check at every iteration. That means at every minor improvement or incremental improvement. Okay, always do that. Collaborate and promote visibility. Okay, make sure you get buy-in. Make sure you inform your leaders what is going on. Make sure you share with the team. Why are we doing this? What we hope to achieve at the end of it. Where are we now? Do we need extra help? How can we make this more successful? Okay. Think and work holistically. Okay. This one, I like to use the statement to say that you need to think 3 steps ahead. Okay, because how you actually fix this, it would have impact to the other system down the road. So you need to look at it holistically to say that, hey, if my process requires me to do this, I'm fixing this, what's the impact to the process downstream? What's the impact to the process upstream? So when you do that change, you need to take into consideration to say that, is there any impact at all? Yes, there is. Okay, where is it? Is it upstream? Is it downstream? Or am I creating another bottleneck somewhere in the flow? So think and work holistically. You need to actually think 3 steps ahead. This is very, very important. Because a lot of times they say, a lot of people tell me, say, John, yeah, I'm doing process improvement. Then I said, okay, is there impact? No, I fixed the problem already. Then a few days later, the other team downstream, they say, hey, John, actually, that team before us, that process actually creating a bottleneck on us. Now I can't process it. I said, did you guys discuss? No, they just told me they changed the process. And guess what? Now I am suffering or my team need to struggle with this change. or the system integration is not working. So I'm like, okay, why didn't you guys discuss? Why didn't you guys talk about this? Why didn't you guys think about it? They say, oh, this one not my job, or this one outside my scope. Actually, it's not like that. You actually have to sit down and discuss with the team to say that, hey, I'm going to change my process. Is there any impact before that? Is there going to be an impact after that? Ask that silly question, because if not, after you implement it, your side is great, it's working well, but the other side might create another issue or an integration or an error. Okay, so think and work holistically, think 3 steps ahead and think step behind as well. Okay, right. Next one, I think we all know this one. Keep it simple and practical. Okay? Don't go overboard. Don't put too many bells and whistle, too many features in one go. Focus on one key thing at one time, if you can. Okay, because too many things, too many changes in one go, it could be very confusing. What is it that we're trying to do here? Okay. Optimize and automate. Have you guys have any automation tool in-house? What are they? Or how do you automate? Can share an example? Yes, Pak. Pak Robbie, you were saying that yes,
maybe
ada tu.
maybe we
Buat apa?
we have
Macam mana buat?
for open system.
How you do that?
We have
Can you share with me? When you
open system. We
automate.
have now Ansible, where we start to automate some process.
Not
That
sure.
silo, yeah, that silo.
There is a couple of things that you guys should look at. One is an attended automation. That means that you will need to trigger the process to automate. The other one is the unattended automation, which means that you don't have to worry about it. You set it up, it will run itself automatically. Okay. Things like perhaps you want to consider, say, if you're working on a service desk, to see how you can actually, instead of receiving calls, ask the user to fill up an email template and send to a mailbox. So the automation comes when the user send the email with the template saying that this is the incident problem, send to you. There's the automation which actually extract that email, put it into your IT service management system, which is your service desk system. There could be an automation of that sort. Okay, so that will reduce your agent's resources or time in taking the call itself, because user can just send an email, right? They don't have to like wait for the next available agent, right? So that could be a good automation for a start. Or you could actually do an automation. Let's say if you're doing a monthly report, which you need to extract from multiple systems, all right, maybe a dashboarding of sort, to create that script automation so that they actually grabs it for you instead of you opening up the Excel, accessing the SharePoint folder, merging the data, filtering it, and then produce that chart. Okay, so all this can be done. Okay, something to look into. Okay, especially automation, or even at the server side or at the cloud. If you're going to the cloud, right, you can actually set what we call precondition. If my utilization has reached, say, 80%, do I scale up or do I scale out? That means scale up means I increase the resources so that on the cloud instance, I can support more customer coming in, more transaction to be processed. Okay, scale out could be I perhaps will set up or create another instance and I divert the traffic to two different sites, for example. Okay, so this type of automation, it exists, but you need to actually look into it to say that what makes sense for us and how we can take advantage of it. That's a whole topic altogether. Okay, if you have not done it in BCA, I recommend you guys to explore as a team or maybe set up a task force to look at it, because it's going to be very, very powerful. Okay, the resource that you save can be redeployed. Not talking about cutting away people's job, is to redeploy them to do some other things. Okay, automation is key because it helps to speed up the way you serve your customer. Okay, cool. In summary, we need to accept ambiguity and uncertainty. We need to trust and be trusted. We need to raise the bar. We need to help to get the customer things done. We need to commit to continue learning. These are the 5 cultural behavior that we need to display or actually adopt and implement if we were to work towards a high velocity IT. That's the gist of it. Okay. Question. We have just finished the module. Any question? Come on, guys. This will start in the afternoon, perhaps. I don't want to start it now. Is there any question? Yes, no? Everybody seems to be very quiet today. Tak ada soalan pun. Aduh, weh. So we went through a lot, the cultural stuff. What are the tools? What are the cultures that we need to implement? I'm just going back. So lean culture, why do we need that? Define framework, just to look at the complexity, purpose, people, progress. If you do revision, try and go through the module by looking at the key things. Okay, so there's a lot of people, culture, and progress that needs to be tracked and done in this module. That's all there is to it. And quite a number of definitions and tables as well. These were the one that we spoke about, which is quite important. Okay, so this is the whole module summarized in this slide. Any question, guys? Ada soalan? Tak ada soalan? Yes, no, maybe? Everybody seems to be very quiet or very hungry today, right? Want to go for your nasi padang. Okay, no worries. I'm going to let you go for your nasi padang and whatever ayam goreng, which I think I'm going to try and order myself as well. I need to go and find a store that actually offer that in Malaysia. Is going to be a bit tough. Good ones. All right, guys. So let's have an early lunch break. Come back at 1 o'clock your time, which is 2 o'clock my time. We will continue and start on the IT technique. Okay, we are on track at this point in time. Okay, so we've done the high velocity IT culture. Okay, no question. Let's break for lunch and I will see you at 1 o'clock.
Sir, sorry, sir.
All good?
One question regarding the table that you show.
Bye. Go. Makan time. Come on, guys. I'll see you later. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. Yes, no? Yes, Ibu? Pauline, you have a question?
Irfan,
Pak Irfan
No?
want to ask the question. Maybe
Sorry, I
the
can't hear
sun
you.
is
Are you on
too...
mute?
Hello?
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 Sorry, Ibu.
Hello?
I can't hear you.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Sorry, Ibu,
Do you
I
hear
still
me?
can't hear you. Sorry, maybe you want to
Cannot?
type in the chat. Something wrong with the connection.
Irfan chat one.
Yes, you have a question. Yes, Ibu.
Sir, can you hear me? Hello?
Oh, Pak Irfan wants to ask something. Yes, silakan. Pak Irfan, go ahead.
Can you hear me, sir? Yang lain dengar nggak?
Kayaknya dia nggak
Dengar,
kedengeran
dengar.
deh, Pak.
Iya, kayaknya dia nggak kedengeran.
I can't hear you guys somehow.
Coba di chat
Ah.
aja Pak pertanyaannya.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me, right? Can you hear me now? Sorry, go ahead, Pak Afan.
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, Pak Afan.
Okay.
Silakan.
Sorry. You show us before, but the practice for the ITIL, right? There is 34, right? It also have a table. Can you teach us how to get the table, sir?
Sorry, can you ulang sekali? Repeat the question again.
Could you teach us regarding the principal table, sir?
Principal table. Sorry, I don't understand the question.
The 34 practice, sir. Practice table.
Practice table.
Sorry,
I think it's
can't
on the
hear.
slide 86, sir.
86, yeah. Okay.
But
Let's
the
go
practice
to
table.
Okay, let me go to slide 86, is it?
Yeah.
86 is this table. Hang on.
Practice
This one,
table,
yes.
right? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Could you teach us how to get this one, sir? Example, the availability management, what aspect that we have to get in this
This
table?
one is actually in the SharePoint folder. Let me try and bring that up. Hang on a sec. If you go to the SharePoint folder, I hope you're seeing the screen now.
Okay.
There should be a folder, number 3 here, HVIT table.
Okay.
It's inside here.
Oh, okay.
It's all here. You can download it. Yeah, you can copy and paste. It's all yours.
Okay, sir.
So you can actually get it from here. So that's why I gave you the link yesterday. Again, I will send the link again. I sent it last night again. I will send it again later. I'll put it into the chat. Let me just share that as well. Hang on a sec. And I'm
It's
going
okay,
to
sir.
copy
I
that.
already bookmarked that.
No, it's okay. I will put it in the chat so you can actually grab that as well. Okay, I've just put it in there. So if you click on that link in the chat now, you can actually download all of that. It's free. You can use that and customize that for your internal use as well. There's no copyright. It's ITIL, best practice. Okay, Alfan, is that okay?
It's okay, sir.
So
Okay, I can see it.
so any of the slides table, because the slide is going to be a little bit blur, I would suggest to go to this folder for you to extract and download a copy of it.
Okay.
Okay, if you want to use it. Any other question, please, before we go for lunch?
John,
Yes.
I want to ask about the OODL loop and the continual improvement. How to combine that? Because OODA is a loop for like do iteration.
Yeah, iteration.
Iteration.
Iteration. Yeah, correct.
How
So
to
I would
combine?
suggest. Okay, I would suggest don't combine. Pick one. That's why.
Pick
That's
one.
why if you ask, if you ask
Oh.
me, you can use the Toyota Kata, you can use the OODA, or you can use the ITIL continual improvement. Personally, I like the IT continual improvement model.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So you
Yeah.
don't have to do all. You pick one.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
I
you just pick
confused how
one.
to. Yeah, because it's in don't state that we have to choose one. Yeah.
Yeah, you just choose one. You don't do all three together. Not recommended.
Okay.
Just pick one. So like I said, the one that I like is actually the one that they recommend. Of course, like I said, they give you another two choices, right? For your kata and the OODA. I prefer the so-called the continuous improvement model because, like I said, the questions are very clear. So if you
Betul,
flow through
betul.
that 6 steps, right, it's
Yeah.
actually a loop itself.
Yeah, this loop already.
Yeah, sorry,
I
this
think
one.
this is clear. This
Yeah,
is clear.
this is very clear,
Mm.
right? So
Okay.
if you have not done it, I would suggest you come up with a what we call a challenge statement or a problem statement, and you can work that through as well. So maybe after lunch, if you want, we can actually spend a few minutes to talk about it. If you can come out with one, and then we can go through to say that, okay, what is the vision? You give an example, right? So
Yeah,
like I said,
right.
okay, just now, if you want to improve customer satisfaction, that's one example. From how many percent, 80% or 90% to 95, for example. So that is the statement. And then we say, okay, what is the vision? Where are we now? Where do we want to be? How do we want to get there? And what are the actions we need to take? And we check if we get there. And then we go back again one loop. Okay. So if you
Okay.
want later after lunch, you can actually give me an
Yeah.
example. We can spend a few minutes to try and write that out for you.
Yeah.
Would that help?
Okay. Yep. Thank you, John.
Actually, like I said, all of you should have try and do one time. It's quite helpful in that sense. Okay. Right. Any other question? No? Everybody is good? Go for your lunch. See you back
Okay.
at 1 o'clock Jakarta time if there's no more question. That's part of fun. Any question? No? You're good?
No, it's okay. Good, sir.
Okay. Don't worry. We will take care of it.
Thank you.
Part of fun, you got question as well later on. If you have a problem statement, we can also do the same. Just like Pak Robi,
Sure.
we can actually spend a bit of time in that
Okay.
sense. Same with everybody. Yeah,
Okay.
if you want to do that, we can actually discuss to see how is that going to be helping you. Okay. All right, guys, I am going to stop the recording. Please go for and enjoy your lunch. I will see you back later.
Okay.
Any
Thank you, sir.
question? Let me know. All right. Bye.
Okay.
Have fun, guys.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.